So today we're continuing with the book Awaken to Love, and we're in chapter 9, and we're in part 2 of chapter 9, and there are 4 parts to chapter 9. Before I get started with the chapter, I want to bring up something to your attention that came to my attention some couple of years ago, and I've been doing a little bit of investigating on it, some research into it, and something new that I'm willing now to share with people is this. I don't know how you say this word. It's a Chinese word. I'm just going to say it without the Z. Hun, Falun, and Falun Gong. I know Falun Gong is pronounced that way from what I hear other people saying it, so I'm pretty sure that's correct. Anyway, it was founded in 1992. In the 1950s and 40s, in China, the many Chinese, not all Chinese, but many Chinese had begun to develop a system integrating Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but they use herbs and various different techniques with acupressure and acupuncture and things like that. And they were very successful with healing using traditional Chinese medicine, which is ancient. But these few people that began to do some research into this found that the energy of qi is spelled in a funny way. It's probably in here, QUI, I think it is. Well, anyway, QWI, something like that. Qi is an energy, and an energy system of qi can be used with various different kinds of movements as a healing technique. And so this is a group that I have. I don't know if you're all a member of it or not. I suggest perhaps you might want to read this, though. And the only place I have it for you right now is in the group. It's called Healing Psychic Abilities and Contact Modalities. So this is a sort of a out there sort of group, so it's private. I introduce various different kind of healing techniques. Also, information that can be verified about psychic abilities. Also, information that can be verified about contact modalities, including extraterrestrial contact. And so this group is very interesting. And I try to keep it honest, especially with the fact of that I'm a research sort of person and I'm studying consciousness, and I don't really want things that aren't true to cloud up my work. I like to work on finding mechanisms that work, that advance things, and I don't like it to be become complicated with things that are not true. So I'm very careful about this group, what I post here, and I'm pretty confident also that what else is posted here is also of interest. I'm not sure that all of it is 100% accurate and stuff like that. I don't really check it to that degree. But the people that I do allow them to post here are people that are trying to be honest. I'm pretty sure about that. So anyway, you're invited to join this group, and I hope that you'll join me as time goes on here as I'm investigating Falun Gong and the Chinese discipline of using Falun Gong through Qigong and also through Tai Chi. And also it's related to Buddhism and the Tao and other Chinese philosophies and techniques of healing. So I just wanted to introduce that to you before we get going with today's chapter. Back to today's chapter, and I'm going to start right away with the audiobook. If you have the audiobook, this is chapter 9, part 1 in the audiobook. It's halfway through part 1 of the audiobook.
Chakras. The chakra system, illustrated in Figure 30, offers a comprehensive framework for understanding our overall health and well-being. Originating from ancient Eastern traditions, the chakras represent energetic centers within the body, each associated with distinct aspects of our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual states. Imbalances in chakras can stem from parts that carry burdens in response to trauma. These parts can even fully block chakras, disconnecting us from our innate wisdom. Integrating chakras with parts work can enrich our path towards rediscovering our inner luminosity. When parts and ego overshadow the self to protect during traumatic events, the original luminosity within our body is replaced by a sense of heaviness. With mindful compassion, we can attend to these wounds and blockages, releasing them to reconnect with our wholeness. Deeply listening to the messages from our body, mind, and spirit allows old patterns to unravel as we return to our integrated, peaceful self. Many individuals carry emotional wounds in the lower 3 chakras, which are connected to our sense of safety and belonging. These wounds may stem from experiences of rejection, violence, or abandonment in this lifetime, or potentially from past lives, as some believe. The lower chakras are deeply tied to our relationship with the earth and our fundamental feelings of security. These unresolved emotional hurts in the lower chakras often underlie blockages in the upper chakras as well. Addressing the wounds in the lower 3 chakras is therefore of paramount importance on the journey of inner healing and growth. The path forward involves extending our gentlest understanding and most compassionate support to the hurt inner child parts residing within these chakras. These parts often hold our greatest treasure, though their emotions may seem intense. Like Jung said, the shadow is 90% pure gold.
So, what Jung meant about that, I'm not exactly sure. But in fact, I have to agree that when we find difficulties within ourselves, when we find confusion, upset, frustration, regrets, uh, contradictions, upsets, frustrations of all kinds, when we actually discover these in a peaceful way, we find that they hide behind them opportunities for growth. So it's a strange thing, but it's a good thing to look at the shadow in a peaceful sort of way and to have a practice which allows us to look at the shadow in such a way as to open our energy centers in our body or around our body. I'm not sure if they're really in our body or around our body. The chakras, in my opinion, are not in the body, but are around the body. But anyway, to open the chakras and to allow this energy to flow more freely allows us to grow more spiritually and allows us to center our awareness in such a way as to see it at the highest values, which I always just summarize them as love, joy, and peace. However, there are many highest values that we could say that we're focusing on, which allow us to see that we are opening ourselves truly to our more spiritual awareness, to our more whole awareness, to our more whole completeness about ourselves. So, this is an important work that this chapter is bringing up into our awareness here. And there are a couple of meditations in this chapter, and there isn't a lot of meat in this chapter for me to really dig into other than what's already in the chapter. So I do have one supplement to add to this chapter, but otherwise, all the material is actually in this chapter. And in fact, I'll also publish this chapter in that group that I made reference to a little while ago on Facebook, the group that I have been administering now for, I guess, about 10 years or something like that.
By cherishing and respecting the vulnerable human side of ourselves, we can restore a sense of beauty, playfulness, innocence, and wholeness. This nurturing approach ultimately cultivates the divine compassion and self-realization we seek. For more than 2 decades, I have been integrating philosophical concepts from Eastern and Western traditions. Blending the chakra system from yogic philosophy with the C qualities of self from the IFS model has felt like a natural synthesis. The chakra meditation below provides detailed instructions to help you explore how these energy centers manifest in your body and how you can invite more self. This meditation is also available on YouTube.
Yeah, this meditation is also available on YouTube. But before we get to that, let's take a look at the chakra system. I'm assuming that people know a little bit more about it than perhaps that I don't need to go over it in any great detail. And the book doesn't really go over it in any great detail either. But in fact, I want to focus on the fact of that what you said here is entirely true. That when we're injured, it tends to be, wounded, that is, when we tend to be wounded in terms of our parts, in terms of the fragmentation of our psyche, in terms of the fragmentation of our mind into a psyche that's wounded, we tend to be wounded in these 3 areas in the lowest part of our system: the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra. These 3 are wounded more easily than the ones above that. However, there can be wounds also in all of the chakras. And I have had, on occasion, a few times, been tuned up by a Reiki master to align my chakras. And I have felt immediately the release of tension that I didn't even know I had, that I didn't even know that I was carrying around, burdens that I didn't even know I had. And so if you ever have the opportunity to meet a chakra master who can do that, to align your chakras, who has some skill with being able to do that, then in fact, take advantage of it and find out what it's like to be energy free like that, to be open and free like that. I would suspect that in fact, I should really look into getting it done again, because I haven't done that for a few years now. And I certainly found it very liberating and freeing. And so I highly recommend doing that. It also will help you to overcome wounds that you may not know that you're carrying around. In step 3 of the 12-step process, we ask God to remove the barriers of self. The barriers of self are our wounds, the wounds of the unconscious. And to have the wounds of the unconscious be removed by God is something that I also subscribe to. In other words, I believe that in fact, spiritually, that I must in fact connect with my higher power or God or spirit in order for me to be whole, in order for me to be true to my own self. So my motto, to thy own self be true, in service, recovery, and unity, includes this spiritual aspect of myself, which I must in fact allow myself to see that I am unifying with that spiritual part of myself, the spiritual awareness, the spirit of God, to see that in fact I'm doing that. Then in fact I can see that it is doing for me what I cannot do for myself. Something else I always say, spirit does for me what I cannot do for myself, or God does for me what I cannot do for myself. Let's take a listen to this short program here about the chakra balancing and healing that occurs with chakra balancing. And this is a link that I added to the book, how chakra balancing and healing has everything to do with your current reality. And it's by a woman named Judith Anodia, something like that.
Past psychological issues, from traumas and difficulties and challenges and neglect, they are lodged in our psyche, they're lodged in the energetic patterns of the body, and they affect and imbalance our chakras. Take, for example, the heart chakra. If you were abandoned or rejected or neglected, or you lost a parent at a crucial time in your life, that may have affected the energetic programming of your heart chakra. The effect of that could show up in your relationships, could show up in your ability to be vulnerable, or just the ability to go through life with an open heart. And as we look at these blockages in the heart, we can see that someone may have overcompensated, making an excessive chakra, meaning that if they didn't get enough love, they have to be the center of attention and have to be social all the time. Or they may have gone deficient, which is an avoidant response, saying, well, I'm just not going to have relationships. I'm just going to isolate and be alone. But both of these are a type of imbalance in the chakras. When the chakra is balanced, we are compassionate, we're loving, we're generous, we feel spacious inside and relaxed and connected inside to ourselves and outside to what's around us. The problem.
So she's speaking about the heart chakra, and she's indicating that, in fact, this woundedness, which I'm saying and I'm agreeing with Laura, is that the woundedness is held in the 3 lower chakras. But it also causes all the chakras after that, above that, to also be out of balance. And the heart chakra is crucial to the healing process. So opening the heart chakra and reintegrating the 3 lower chakras with the heart chakra, and integrating the mind also then. So the mind is guided by the heart. This is the process of being able to unify or connect with spirit. There's a physical process that has to occur for this to be sustainable, for us to sustain our connection with spirit. These chakras must come into balance for that alignment, for that unity, for it to occur even.
Problems of stress, anxiety, and depression have their signature in the energetic processes of the body. We might have too much energy and not know how to control it. We might have too little. And this can show up in physical problems as well. So take an imbalance in the root chakra, our chakra of survival. That can often show up as weight issues, being chronically overweight or underweight. The overweight would be an excessive defense, saying, I don't feel safe unless I have a big body to store all this energy. Or being underweight might be saying, I don't really want to be on the earth plane. I want to be light. And each of those are a kind of unbalance. When the chakra comes into balance, we have a sense of grounding, stability, we feel healthy, we feel alive, and it helps to keep that grounding to make prosperity in our lives as well. So a simple way to remember your ground is to stop and feel your legs as the roots that go down into the earth. Take a breath, bend your knees, push your feet into the ground. Roots push down into the earth, so push your feet into the ground. Say thank you for this life. Now chakras work with energy. Energy is inside us and it's all around us. So part of healing and healing the spirit is to heal that universal connection between inside and out. So take the heart chakra. One aspect of it is compassion, the ability to feel with, have passion with. When we have judgment of ourselves or someone else, we're not in that compassion. So you might look at, what trait do you typically judge in yourself? Where did that trait come from? And how can you look at what it was trying to do at the time and bring some forgiveness to that trait? Through applying simple practices from yoga, from bioenergetics, from the study of psychology, and practices that we do out in our world, in interactions with other people, we can bring the chakra system as a system for wholeness back into balance once again.
So the practices of yoga, of Tai Chi, of Qigong, and so on like this are also practices that help to realign the chakra system, to reawaken the chakras, to liberate the chakras from wounds of the past, to help the mind to be released from the fragmenting and confusion and frustrations and complications of the dilemmas of the past. Blending the chakras with the C qualities is up next. And this is something that Laura has done, which I highly recommend, is to allow ourselves to meditate on the C's, and using also the chakras, I think, is of great value. Some people may not appreciate this just yet. Like, people didn't like the parts idea. I'm still not a person that's, excited about the way that IFS presents how to deal with the parts. But many of these things that have to do with the self energy, and looking at the self in terms of its qualities of wholeness, includes looking at the 8 C's of the IFS system. And this is part of my recommendation also, is to use the 8 C's and to combine the 8 C's in this way also with use of chakra meditations. And the chakra meditations also is available for you on YouTube, and is part of this chapter as well. In fact, we're going to go through the chakra meditation after we look at this next supplement that I have added into the chapter on integrative chakra work. And I did record that, so I'll play that from my recording.
Integrative chakra work. This chapter of Laura Patrias's Awaken to Love provides an excellent opportunity to supplement a discussion with an integrative approach. By blending the chakra system's wisdom with the internal family systems model, Laura bridges Eastern and Western philosophies, offering a holistic framework for inner healing. Here's how this material might be supplemented and discussed. The importance of the lower chakras. Key insights. The lower 3 chakras, root, sacral, and solar plexus, are foundational to our sense of safety, belonging, and personal power. Emotional wounds in these chakras often stem from childhood experiences or unresolved trauma, including feelings of rejection, abandonment, or betrayal. When these chakras are blocked, their imbalances may ripple upward, affecting creativity, communication, intuition, and spiritual connection.
And I'll add that using the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I also discovered that, in fact, I was at that time blocked from the balances. And so the first step talks about the powerlessness, but it also talks about the unmanageability. And the second step introduces then the idea that there has to be an authority greater than myself. And in the authority greater than myself, then there's a chance that I can be restored to sanity, but not without the actual connection to spirit. Does that actually occur? That doesn't mean that I have to be a religious person whatsoever at all. In fact, I don't even have to know anything about religion or even talk about God. I really just have to focus on my spiritual nature, my nature of free and open, peaceful, loving heart. And if I can open and concentrate on my loving heart for periods of time during the course of a day, then I recover the ability to look at frustrations and complications and dilemmas and regrets and so on like that in a peaceful sort of way. And I begin to see through them that they are barriers to my awareness of my true self. And I begin to see through them that I am a much greater sense of myself. I can find a much greater sense of myself as I see through these barriers, these shortcomings. I can see through them. I can see opportunities now to become more peaceful, more calm, more relaxed, more honest, more loving, more willing, more open-minded, and more attuned to spirit. So I don't even really have to learn about God or religion or anything like that, but I have to be able to focus on the sustaining of the opening of my heart and the closing of the confusion and the frustration and the resentments and the chaos and the dilemmas that my mind likes to present to me. My mind likes to present these things to me because I was more or less trained in that way, trained to find fault with the world outside myself. It doesn't meet my needs. And so if I look more carefully at my needs, and Maslow did a good job, by the way, of defining how our needs work, that our lowest level needs are physiological, and that our lowest level needs include everything that has to do with taking care of ourselves physically. And that our lowest level needs include, above that, safety needs, everything that has to do with keeping ourselves safe and secure, allowing our mind to be at ease because, in fact, we're safe and secure. And just above that is our belongingness needs, to see that, in fact, we have to have a good sense of belonging and community, and to see that, in fact, we have to have a good sense of belonging with others, and to have good relationships with others so we can grow. And above that, then, the needs become a little bit more conscious. But below that level, all our needs are unconscious. And if, in fact, our needs are not being met below that level, then, in fact, we're going to be out of balance, and our chakras are going to suffer because of that. In other words, our alignment, our ability to be free and to have creativity and communication and intuition and spiritual connection is going to be virtually impossible, except perhaps for moments when we could still be inspired by something loving and peaceful and joyful that we happen upon. Some beautiful music or something that triggers or doesn't trigger us, but something that releases us from our fear. And we may have experiences of that, but not have experiences of being able to sustain that and not know why. The reason we can't sustain it is going to become apparent to us as we begin to be open and release ourselves from the burden of ourself, which is something that I say God does that for me because I cannot do that by myself. I have to be with the spirit in order for me to see the release of the burden of myself. Because the burden of myself is those things that block me from seeing my whole true self. Does anybody want to add anything before I go on?
I did. Earlier
Jim.
when you're talking about working on your chakra, the root, when she's talking about it, earlier today, I got this wild hair up my ass, well, my butt, excuse me, and I decided I need to now that I can walk and I haven't been having any spine pain for a couple of months. I go, I'm gonna get back to doing stretches and try to use yoga poses and stretches and some. So I got on my knees for the first time in a couple of years, which was really hard for me to be on my knees because of my back. And all of a sudden, I chose to be on my knees for 5 minutes and, like a table pose. And it felt good. And then I started hearing the crunches, but it was a good pain crunch in a way. Like I could feel, and I could just feel my body just melt into
Mm-hmm.
and and I was working on my legs, just massaging my calves and the fascia, all that stuff. And I'm like, this is the pain that I wanted, not the other pain, but this.
Right.
And it felt so good.
Mhm.
And I'm like in euphoria right now from even though it was like 30 minutes before us
Mhm.
getting together.
Yeah.
But I miss that. And now, and as we're talking about, I'm like, now I'm getting into it.
Yeah. As you do some of those things, as you find some things that work for you, and if you find documentation that helps you to show other people how that you went about doing that, I would appreciate if you would post some of those things into the group that I just showed you a little while ago. You know that
Okay.
group, because you're a member of that group, and I trust your experience on that.
Thank
You
you.
can find things that are opening you, and you can see, in fact, it helps to that lightness of your heart to be
Yes.
open. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Thank
yeah.
you.
And then you feel that, like you just feel yourself melting into it. You know. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's continue on then with the supplement.
Discussion focus. Invite participants to reflect on experiences or emotions that might relate to feelings of insecurity or disconnection from the body. Encourage exploration of how healing these foundational wounds can create greater alignment and openness in the upper chakras. In Chapter 9 of Awaken to Love, Laura Patrias explores the intricate relationship between emotional wounds and the lower three chakras, the root, sacral, and solar plexus, which she connects to our sense of safety, belonging, and personal power. Her reflections delve into how unresolved trauma, whether from this life or purported past lives, lodges within the energetic system and creates barriers to love, wholeness, and self-realization. Patrias begins by emphasizing the foundational nature of the lower three chakras. These energy centers are not merely metaphysical abstractions but are deeply tied to human developmental stages and psychological structures. The root chakra, for example, corresponds to survival instincts and our fundamental sense of security. The sacral chakra is related to relational dynamics and emotional expression, while the solar plexus governs autonomy and willpower. When wounds are imprinted in these centers, through experiences such as neglect, abuse, abandonment, or betrayal, they form what Patrias describes as emotional scars that influence the internal family system of the psyche.
So before we move on with that, let's just break this down a little bit, okay? So what we're seeing here is that she has done a little bit of work to make it clear that these wounds that we're talking about are psychological wounds. Developmental stages, however, are arrested because of the psychological wounds. So our developmental stages are crucial for the first nearly 30 years of our lives for the formation of our brain and our organs. And then after that, also for the free flow of energy between our brain and our organs and throughout our body. And these things are, in fact, not typically open and not typically functioning properly during most of our lives. And so, therefore, our lives are shorter, our lives are more burdened, and our lives are more stressful because of this, because of these emotional wounds. So, this is the reason I stopped here, is because it's important also to see another exercise, which I've often spoken about, is to be able to deconstruct the emotional upsets, the emotional confusion, the emotional worries. When I do have a reaction to something, it's an emotional reaction. It occurs instantly, like a trigger. And if I don't look at it in terms of what it's done to me, in terms of how it's working on taking me into frustration, confusion, feeling abused and feeling improperly used and stuff like that, if I don't look at it properly, then in fact, I don't allow myself to recover from it really. And it causes these emotional scars that she's talking about. So the emotional scars are something that's actually physically stored in my body. And because it's physically stored in my body, it therefore completely blocks the free flow of this energy between the chakra points in my body. As the chakra points around my body connect with each other, they should also connect within the body. And in fact, there are two waves of energy that form in the body between the heart and the lower chakras and between the heart and the higher chakras. And so if those two uh, systems are not freely flowing, then these two energy circles, these two energy cycles within our bodies are not actually producing the kind of rhythm that is needed for us to be able to be open in communication from our heart. And the heart becomes the center of this communication. So this is something that's important for us to contemplate in our restful use of our time in meditation, mindfulness, and prayer, and so on like that, to spend some time contemplating the energy that's moving through our bodies, perhaps with using Tai Chi or yoga, or perhaps with Qigong. These are ways that we can allow ourselves to be open to healing. And this is why I'm beginning to publish some of those different kinds of activities and some of those different kinds of systems for understanding this. Because as I begin to study this, I begin to see the true power of this. And I begin to see the truth about what China is hiding from the world, which is the fact of that they have, some of these masters have discovered things that are shortcuts, basically, to Buddha enlightenment, to Christ enlightenment, to Christ mindedness, to this wonderful, peaceful, perfectly aligned true self. Shortcuts to it because the body no longer blocks the chakras and no longer blocks the energy. And so therefore, with the energy open, the mind can be freed from confusion and feeling improperly treated and so on like that. It can be freed from all of the obsessiveness and compulsiveness that it had been suffering from, which brought us into addictions and confusion and anger and violence and so on like that. Anybody want to add anything before I go on? Okay, let's continue.
Patrias. These traumas are often unconscious and manifest as defensive behaviors, fragmented inner parts, or somatic imprints. This is where she integrates Jungian psychology and internal family systems theory. She interprets wounded inner parts not as pathological but as protectors or exiles that develop to safeguard the self when core needs were unmet. For instance, a child who experienced rejection may develop a protector part that manifests as aggression or emotional withdrawal, rooted in the solar plexus. These adaptations, while initially useful, become obstacles to intimacy and authenticity in adulthood. Integrating chakras with parts work. Key concept. Laura suggests that parts carrying burdens from trauma can create blockages in the chakras. Working with these parts through IFS helps release these burdens, restoring the innate luminosity of the energy centers. IFS and chakras connection. Use Laura's correspondence between the chakras and the 8 C's of self, such as calmness, curiosity, compassion, confidence, courage, clarity, creativity, and connectedness, to illustrate how accessing self-energy can harmonize these energy centers. Exercise. Guide participants through a body scan meditation to sense where emotional or energetic blockages might reside. Ask them to focus their attention on the lower 3 chakras and visualize extending warmth, compassion, and grounding energy to any wounded parts they encounter. Healing the inner child in the lower chakras. Key insight. The lower chakras often hold the pain and unmet needs of the inner child. Laura emphasizes that these vulnerable parts also hold immense potential and wisdom, described by Jung as 90% pure gold.
I'm actually going to use Laura's meditation, the chakra meditation that she provides in the book today. So this exercise, which is suggested with me and through my work with ChatGPT, we're not going to actually do that exercise. It's very similar, very much the same as the one that Laura's does. And I'm going to use hers.
Practical approach. Work with participants to identify specific childhood wounds connected to safety, belonging, or personal empowerment.
And that's work we do on Sundays. And I prefer the ACA method, the Adult Children of Alcoholics method, where there are only 3 parts that are wounded. The wounded inner child, and the wounded teenager, and the critical parent. And to awaken what the ACA refers to as loving parent. The loving parent guidebook is a much easier system to use than IFS if you're doing it alone. And if you're doing it with a therapist, then I suggest that you check in with your therapist and meet a therapist that you like, and whichever system they use, I'm sure it will be fine, because the main thing that we're doing is we're awakening to our true self is what we're really trying to find. Our self, our higher level self with a capital S self, or this loving parent that guides us through the process of seeing ourselves whole, whichever one works, it doesn't matter. Or if it could be something else, in fact, altogether as well, besides that anyways. Many different systems actually work. There's a universal experience of this, though, and that's the most important thing. When I found that the universal experience of this was the real central truth of all of these systems, there's only one way of seeing it, is the fact of I'm seeing it, that I'm healing to become my whole true self.
Discuss how nurturing these parts with gentleness and compassion can unlock creativity, joy, and resilience. Chapter 9 also discusses the possibility of karmic or ancestral imprints affecting these chakras. While this belief may not resonate universally, Patrias invites readers to remain open to the idea that our energetic body might carry echoes of unhealed experiences beyond our conscious memory. Whether viewed symbolically or literally, this perspective adds a dimension of compassion and depth to the healing process. One of the chapter's key insights is that healing these wounds is not about transcending or bypassing them, but about turning inward with compassion and curiosity. Through somatic awareness, breathwork, and dialoguing with inner parts, techniques drawn from psychosynthesis and IFS, individuals can begin to reclaim fragmented energy stored in the lower chakras. This reclamation process is what Patrias refers to as embodied non-duality, as a state where spiritual insight is integrated with the emotional and somatic dimensions of the self. Blending yogic and IFS philosophies. Key insight. Laura's synthesis of yogic philosophy, chakras, with IFS concepts provides a practical framework for healing. By associating the qualities of self, such as the 8 C's, with each chakra, she provides a roadmap for integrating psychological and spiritual growth. Supporting figures. Reference Laura's diagrams or tables that outline the chakra system's alignment with the 8 C's of self to clarify these connections for participants. Reflective exercise. Ask participants to choose a lower chakra and consider which qualities of self feel most relevant to healing that energy center. Example, for the root chakra, participants might focus on cultivating calmness and connection to address fears related to safety and grounding. Nurturing the body as a sacred vessel. Key insight. Laura emphasizes the need to reconnect with the body as an instrument of love rather than fear. Healing chakra wounds allows the body to embody its original luminosity and divine potential. Guided visualization. Lead participants through a visualization of their lower chakras as luminous energy centers. Invite them to imagine the burdens held within these centers dissolving into light, replaced by feelings of safety, creativity, and empowerment. Suggested supplementary practices. To enhance the discussion, consider incorporating the following. Chakra yoga. Introduce simple yoga poses or movements designed to activate and balance the lower chakras, e.g., grounding poses for the root chakra. Journaling prompts. What emotions or memories arise when I focus on my root, sacral, or solar plexus chakra? How can I nurture the vulnerable parts within these chakras? Sound healing. Use specific sounds or mantras, e.g., lamp for the root chakra, to resonate with and balance these energy centers. Conclusion. The integration of chakras with parts work offers a profound path for healing, combining Eastern energetic wisdom with the psychological depth of IFS. By addressing wounds in the lower chakras, participants can lay a strong foundation for overall balance, reconnecting with the body's luminosity and the self's qualities.
Oftentimes on that group that I showed you, I have posted healing meditations, which are sound, and which we listen to and allow ourselves to be guided without words into healing by sound. There's an interesting fact that I came up with, which is something that I just discovered recently, is that this man named Kurt Richer found that rats placed in water would drown in 15 minutes or approximately, unless they were rescued. And if they were rescued once, after a brief rescue, he could put them back into the water and they could swim for up to 60 hours. And what he discovered was, in fact, that the rats have developed a sense of hope that they would be saved again. And so they actually swim. When in fact they were put into the water and they had not had the experience of being saved, they assumed that they would drown. Apparently, if rats actually make assumptions, I'm not sure that that's the best way to say it, but they did not swim. And so they drowned quickly. Within 15 minutes, most of them were dead. Interesting. Hope, another thing of value. And so I hope that for you, that all of these classes that we're doing together, this book and many other books that we've done, is providing for you a sense of hope. Because a sense of hope is one of the first things we need to have in order for the recovery to begin to take root, for it to process, for us to escape from the unmanageability into a power greater than ourselves, and awareness of a decision-making process that allows us to see that we're making more right-minded, spiritual kinds of decisions. Let's go back to Laura's book. And chapter 9.
Hope is in step 2.
I'm sorry, what?
Hope is part of step 2. Isn't it a principle of step 2 in the 12 steps?
Yes, hope is necessary for us to have a good sense of what step 2 is going to do to rescue us. So it's like the rat. If we didn't know we were going to be rescued, then we would stick still with the unmanageability, and we will believe that we have to figure it out ourselves. But step 2 came along and said, wait a minute, that's not really true. Here's hope for you. What you need to do is you need to see that there are steps that are going to help you through this process. The first step identifies what your weakness is, what your untruth is, and the second step is going to undo that. It's going to supply you with salvation. So the second step provides us with a salvation, which is that there must be a power greater than ourselves to restore us, that could restore us to sanity. It could restore us to sanity if, in fact, we will focus on the fact that there really is a power greater than myself. I don't have to figure this out myself. I really should be communicating my problems and getting help from others that have gone through this process and have actually used this process to recover. And so when I learn to do that, I begin to see hope, because I begin to see I am being saved by the fact there's a system that takes me out of the insanity and restores me to the ability to make better decisions for myself. Hope. This principle is called hope. Thank you, Marlene.
Totally. Thank you.
So here's Laura's chart that was one of the charts that we were referring to in this supplement that I had, allowing us to see that, in fact, the chakra system can be opened, and some affirmations could be helpful to do that. The root chakra, I need to restore myself with some sense of confidence that I know my worth. One thing I've discovered from people that are suffering from trauma and from alcoholism and or other drug addictions is they do not know their worth. They don't think they're worth anything. Maybe some of them think they have no worth. And in fact, they really believe that. And the second, the sacral chakra, I can dance with inspiration. In other words, I can be open to allowing myself to see that there's a creativity that I need to awaken again in myself. Hopefully it was there in childhood, and therefore I'll be able to remember it when it begins to open again. And therefore I'll begin to see myself that I can find creativity leads to courage. Courage is something I need in order to escape from the unmanageability. And I must escape into something that really works. And that's where the higher chakras come into play. And now I have to open my heart to compassion for myself and for others. I care with kindness has to be my affirmation, perhaps, to allow myself to see that I can sustain my open heart. And when I can sustain my open heart, then I can sustain the healing of these lower chakras. Because otherwise, the healing would be just temporary. And I would return again to whatever kind of disorder or sickness or confusion or frustration or resentments and so on and so forth that had plagued me before. I wouldn't really escape from them if I don't see the openness of compassion. I don't see the healing of compassion that I can maintain then my courage and creativity and my confidence as well. And this allows me to open then to some clarity, but calm, it sort of works the other way around now. Now I want to see calmness, and by seeing calmness, I can see that I can be open to connectedness. And now curiosity becomes very useful to me, because now I can see with curiosity and with compassion that there is clarity. So it kind of skips around and it starts with calm again, in my opinion anyway. I'm not sure that is actually the way that the master would teach it, but that's the way I would teach it. Let's take a look at Laura's meditation. Chakra meditation is next. And you see as she focuses on these 8 C's as this meditation unfolds. And it is also on YouTube, although I think it's a little different on YouTube, but it's the same basic meditation that's on YouTube as well.
See supplementary PDF for details. Before beginning, take a moment to visually attune to the chakra illustration in Figure 31. Exercise, chakra meditation. Find a comfortable seat, closing your eyes if that feels right, and bringing your awareness inward. Take a few deep breaths to center yourself in the present moment. This meditation will guide you through the 8 C's of self as they relate to the chakra points in the body. Starting at the base of your spine where the root chakra is located, visualize the color red if that's helpful. Perhaps the vibrant red of a rose, a juicy red apple, or rich red earth. This is the color of the root chakra, and it relates to C of confidence. See if you can tune into your lower body in contact with the surface you're on, supported by the earth beneath you. Allow your parts to rest in confidence. Can you sense the stability and self-worth that arises from being fully grounded? The more grounded you are, the higher you can fly, and the more confident your parts will feel. Being grounded helps you to navigate even the stormiest roads with the confidence of self. The confidence of self is embodied, deeply rooted, instinctual, and primal. Take note of any parts that may be lacking confidence. Allow those parts to tune into even the smallest glimmer of confidence, and let it settle and take root within your being. Plant the seed of this confidence, nourishing it daily, Over the days, weeks, and months to come, tend to this seed patiently and watch it blossom and grow ever stronger. As this confidence takes hold, you will find yourself moving through life's challenges with an unwavering sense of stability and self-trust. Moving up.
Slow this down a little bit because it's going just a little fast for the fact of that we're supposed to be, if we can, following it and sort of concentrating on what it's asking us to understand. So I'm going to slow this recording down just a little bit.
Smallest glimmer of confidence, and let it settle and take root within your being. Plant the seed of this confidence, nourishing it daily. Over the days, weeks, and months to come, tend to this seed patiently and watch it blossom and grow ever stronger. As this confidence takes hold, you will find yourself moving through life's challenges with an unwavering sense of stability and self-trust. Moving up to an area a few fingers below your navel. This is the sacral chakra, similar to the lower dantian in Chinese medicine, the elixir of life force, the center of gravity related to sea of creativity. As you breathe into this space, visualize the color orange, like a ripe tangerine or a flickering flame. This is the color of the sacral chakra in the lower abdomen.
This is a warm orange ball is the way that this actually originates in my body. So I don't have to visualize it, I have to feel it. I can visualize it as well, but I can feel it. And I can also connect with it as this lower dantian, that I can feel the energy of it. And so I can, usually what I do is I place my hands close together and I allow myself to feel an energy ball between my palms of my hands. And then with that energy ball between the palms of my hands, I then place them over this lower dantian, just below the navel, as she's described, and allow myself to feel the energy inside of my body as another ball within my body, as an orange ball within my body. And this is the connection for you if you are astral traveling. Then you are connected to this orange ball within yourself. You're connected to this point within yourself, in this chakra point within yourself, within your body. So you can astral travel and you can return to your body very easily because this point is always connected, whether the back or the front, it doesn't matter. I would connect with it in the front as I'm preparing myself for this meditation. And I don't particularly care about astral traveling or meeting other entities and those sort of things. I'm not really excited about doing anything like that. I have astral traveled before, and I don't find anything especially rewarding about it. What's rewarding most for me is this vibrational attunement that begins to occur from this warm orange ball that has become a part of my meditation, of this warmth that radiates from the sacral chakra.
This is the womb space, the cradle of creativity. For men, it is known as the hara, the energetic center of creation. Taking another breath, feel the flow of inspiration stirring within you. Take a moment to look and see if there are any parts here that are afraid of creativity, and see if you can invite them now to join you in this dance with self, expanding deeper and deeper into creative expression. Now swirling up to the solar plexus, located a few fingers above your navel, just below your rib cage. This area relates to sea of courage. Imagine the color yellow, like the rays of the sun. This is the home of digestion, digesting food, ideas, emotions, and experiences, and separating what is useful to us from what is not, thus transforming it into energy.
So this transformation of energy makes use of the energy from the sacral chakra to help to transform whatever is in the digestive tract, whatever is in the digestive area, into energy. And so if you have any problems with digestion, then you may allow yourself to understand that that has to do with your emotions again. It has to do with the fact that your emotions are short-circuiting this connection between the lower chakras and the higher chakras, blocking you from your awareness of the higher ideals, higher awareness of your true self, blocking you from being able to sustain the openness of your heart as well, blocking you from the awareness of the kinds of decisions that you need to make in order to be peaceful with yourself. In any situation or any circumstance, to be peaceful with ourselves would be preferable. If in fact we can be peaceful with ourselves, then we can actually understand and experience infinite patience. And infinite patience is truly the gift of spirit. Without infinite patience, then in fact, it's very difficult to make these true connections between all the chakra points, to be open in awareness of our true self.
See if you can tune into Agni, the inner fire igniting your courage to take bold action and transform your part's fears into courage. As you take the next breath into your solar plexus, notice your tummy rising and scan around to see if there are any parts that are fearful and still hiding in the shadow. Can they glimpse even the smallest ray of light radiating from self? Allow them to soak in the courage of self, even for a brief moment.
So you're looking for the shadow parts of yourself to give them nurturing guidance, to give them energy, to give them what they need. They need the energy, and that's why they are lurking about. They think they have to sort of steal it. They think they have to sort of grab it. They think they have to take it and run and hide it. Because they do that, therefore, again, we're blocked. We're blocked from the free flow of energy between all the chakra points. Remember, they're in the body and outside the body. They're around the body and in the body. And we must be open to all points, both in the body and around the body, for this system to work properly.
Now moving up to the center of your chest, visualize color green, the lush green of nature in springtime. This is the heart chakra, relating to sea of compassion. Take a deep breath into your sacred heart and repeat to yourself the following. I am worthy of infinite and unending compassion. Compassion fully surrounds me and my life. All my decisions are inspired by inner wisdom and compassion. As you speak these words, feel your heart opening with care and kindness for yourself, for all the parts and the parts of those around you. Compassion is all-inclusive. Compassion knows no boundaries. Compassion comes with the awareness of self, and this light of awareness opens the petals of your heart. As the petals of your heart unfold, a beautiful fragrance spreads across your inner being and soothes all the parts that may be feeling sad, parts that are grieving, parts that need to be held. Allow your parts to access compassion by tuning into the openness of your heart and see if they can receive it.
So that fragrance will vary from time to time. And it supplies, interestingly enough, it supplies a healing property for the other lower chakras and also for the higher chakras as well. Remember, the heart is now the center chakra. The heart is now the central focus of our lives. And when we are in the central focus of our heart, and the other chakras are open to our heart, there's these two toroidal waves of energy, two separate balls of energy, in a sense, that are interwinding with each other and keeping us more vibrant. And this fragrance that she's speaking about is like a tonic for those parts of ourself, for healing of ourself.
Become curious about the unique ways each of your parts prefers to receive compassion. Is it through a gentle hand resting on your chest, nourishing breath, a soothing visual or image? Stay here for a few more breaths and allow your parts to really receive the compassion of self. Now moving up to the throat chakra associated with the color blue, like the clear sky. This chakra relates to sea of clarity. Imagine your throat open like the blue sky of self, allowing parts to pass through like clouds. Even when the clouds grow thick, self still shines through. See if you can gently invite the clouds to dissipate into the spaciousness of self. From this space of expanded awareness, invite your parts to express themselves with the clarity of self. Feel the parts vibrating with inner truth as they are seen clearly in the openness and acceptance of self. Notice the beauty of your parts as they enter this space of clarity in your throat. Feel the subtle expansion, openness, and relaxation of your throat and your neck muscles. Can you feel the gentle, easeful expression as parts of you tune into the clarity of self? Shift your focus to the space in the middle of your head, behind your eyes. Visualize the deep, rich indigo color of the evening sky. This is the third eye chakra, relating to sea of curiosity. Imagine calling in the stillness and tranquility of the evening sky, and see your parts as the first few stars shimmering across the vast expanse of this inner space. Can you sense these parts glowing brightly with an innate sense of curiosity? Observe this curiosity as it reaches out, extending towards everything you perceive, both internally and externally. See if you can embrace the sense of beginner's mind with this curiosity, a sense of wonder and openness, just like a child gazing up at the majesty of the evening starry sky. Let your perception be refreshed here, welcoming inspiration as it sparks across the horizon of your inner vision. Curiosity allows you to tune into your parts' wisdom and insight as they twinkle and vibrate within you. Take a deep breath, expanding the center of your head, perhaps sensing a tingling sensation. If you notice any parts here that feel foggy and misty, see if you can invite them to rest in the deep inner knowing that arises effortlessly when you remain open and curious.
So these are parts of the body in this sense here. This is the way I experience this, not as parts or personalities. I don't really need to relate to them as personalities. I need to relate to them, though, as that there are parts of my body which are blocked or blocking the energy from freely flowing in me, around me, and through me.
Now move your attention to the crown chakra located at the top of your head. As you breathe into this area, visualize the color violet and notice any tingling, any shimmering sensation, like the first stirrings of a new dawn. This chakra is related to sea of connectedness. Notice any parts of you that are longing for connection and allow them to tune into the energy of self. Just as the sun sends its rays down towards the earth, self sends energy towards parts. Feel yourself connected to this infinite light of awareness that dwells within and without, filling your entire being with a sense of expansion and freedom. Notice which parts of you are able to open to receiving this light, using it to connect to the inner and outer family, to the earth beneath, to the stars above, and to all sentient beings. Can your parts feel the connection to the eternal source, allowing this source to flow through you each new day with limitless potential? Take a moment to check if there are parts that still feel disconnected. Can they begin to feel even the smallest threads of connection to particle self within and attuning to the wave aspect, connecting you to the entire universe?
So you begin to, if you can, to feel an attunement with the entire universe. In other words, I feel free of anything that blocks me from feeling just openness, lightness and openness. And this is where truth has been hidden from me. Truth is always surrounding me, and that can barely be blocked. But in fact, it's blocked within myself that I don't have a connection to the truth. And this is where opening the chakras is an important shortcut. And also where these exercises that I've mentioned, which I've been studying more recently with Qigong and with Tai Chi and with other movements such as yoga and so on like this, that I've found that in fact, opening these centers within the body allows me to connect with what's around the body. So if I want to be surrounded by love, it's difficult to be surrounded by love if in fact I'm holding fear in my body. And this is what woundedness really is. It's a form of fear. It's a form of disease of fear. I'm blocking myself from the completion of those lower needs of mine, which I described earlier as physiological needs, safety and security needs, and belongingness needs. And now I'm allowing myself, if I have an openness of meeting those needs, to see that my self-esteem and my prestige needs also are being met. But now those are being met almost automatically because I feel at peace with myself. I feel no urgency any longer that I have to accomplish something in some time frame of some sort. I'm feeling myself, in fact, to be curious about that, curious about whatever it is I need to accomplish. And I'm curious about it in a way now that allows me to remain calm and remain compassionate. And therefore, clarity begins to just emerge. I don't really have to work at developing clarity. It just seems to come to me. It's like things can be downloaded from the universe somehow that I didn't even know. And many times I've found out and learned things that I didn't even know just because I was at peace with myself. For no other reason, trust me, there was no reason that I was even looking into it. Suddenly some revelation would just come into my mind and I would be peacefully aware of it as if I had known it all my life. Because I apparently did know it all my life. Because apparently it was surrounding me all my whole life. And it was there for my awareness to find, when in fact my awareness wouldn't be blocked by the confusion and frustrations and complications and dilemmas of seeing myself at odds with myself, believing that it had to do with what's going on with other people, places, situations, or circumstances outside of myself.
And finally, imagine clear white light shining from within your core and surrounding your entire body. This is the stillness of self, relating to the sea of calm. Sink into this calm center, a space of deep silence within you. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do. Simply be, fully present in this moment. Trust in this stillness, letting it support you. Can you also tune into the sense of calm all around you? This calm can help to blur the boundary between your body and the space surrounding you, as self gently softens any hard edges. See if your parts can trust that whenever they feel unsettled, they can return here to rest with your inner and outer calm. As you conclude this meditation, take a moment to become aware of your entire being. Notice the energy flowing through your chakras as self's qualities converge within you. Feel your wholeness as they integrate, weaving together seamlessly. You are complete. You are enough. Gently open your eyes when you are ready, feeling refreshed and balanced as you return to your surroundings. See if you can set an intention to carry this sense of inner harmony with you throughout your day.
So this sense of inner harmony, this sense of peaceful lightness, this quality then of ease, of joy, of love, and of kindness and of peace, this quality then begins to grow. Now, this is something that I also discovered was that, in fact, if I'm alert to what the second step taught me is that there is a power greater than myself, then my decision making is much more eased. It takes going through the middle steps to experience that, I believe. And the middle steps begins with step 4, in which case I do a complete inventory of myself and see all my fears and confusion, my frustrations and my resentments and my chaos and so on and so forth that are self-made. I see that I've been making them. I'm the author of all my problems. I see. Not that nobody else contributed to some of my problems. They probably did. And there are definitely memories of situations and circumstances where people contributed to my suffering. But in fact, all my suffering thereafter has been related to me carrying the burden of myself as if I need to suffer. And this is one of the really most confusing aspects of understanding the human process of development beyond the meeting of our basic needs. To see that, in fact, if we want to become self-actualized, if we want to become aware of our true self, then we must stop suffering. It's not that suffering won't ever occur, it's that we will easily remain peaceful in the face of suffering and therefore recover from suffering pretty much almost instantly. This is what infinite patience, the strength of infinite patience is what that is. Infinite patience is something that I discovered in A Course in Miracles. And I don't know how to describe infinite patience just very quickly, but it's not anything which needs to be accomplished. It's something that just happens. It happens because of this fullness of my true self. It happens because I actually become aware of my authentic and genuine and true self in service, recovery, and unity. And if I am in service, recovery, and unity, and I have discovered my true self and authentic, genuine self, then in fact, all avenues of exploration of the world outside myself are open to me to remain in peace, to extend myself as love and as joy and as peace to the world outside myself. And as I begin to be able to accomplish this, then I feel more at ease with myself, and I notice the increasing of this. And this is what's key to it all. To sustain the openness of my heart, I must notice the increasing of self, increasing of joy, the increasing of kindness, the increasing of peace, the increasing of love. And as I begin to notice the increasing of these values, then I begin to see that these are the true values. How could I know that, though, if I'm blocking myself at the lowest level of my needs? If I'm not meeting my lowest level physical needs and safety needs and belongingness needs, then I would never discover the truth about myself, is that I can sustain myself based on the awareness of this higher, truer self, which begins to feed me even. And I'm not really a person that wants to talk much about all the, the amazing things like magic that occur in the world, but magic begins to occur within myself. And so the connections of meeting my needs becomes much more eased, much more peacefully available to me to see for myself that I can meet my needs in a peaceful, joyful, loving way. And so this is the power of this chakra meditation. I really highly recommend Laura's meditation for this. And I will definitely share this entire chapter with you guys, as well as with many other people on YouTube and also on Facebook. This is a really powerful section of this chapter. This particular section is the one I share with everyone, just like I did with the introduction to the book. Anybody want to add anything here? This is a great place, and we have plenty of time still if you want to speak up about meeting your needs. Go ahead, Marlene.
Yes, I like this other way of looking at energy, abundance, or depletion through the chakras, because I was looking through it through the nervous system, and so this is another good modality for me. I was this thing about the self, the boundary between your body and the space surrounding you, as self gently softens hard edges. So I had about like a few days of pretty bad depression where I lost hope and I had pretty dark thoughts. And thank goodness I'm not there today, that it shifted. You know, again, like you said, through all these studies and books and groups and you guys. So, but you know, I don't know if this came from a curious part. I mean, I think it was self. So I was curious and I asked because I was haranguing myself, you know, especially over a time when I was much younger, and you know that I really can't change anything, of course, it's crazy. So I dwelled too much there, and I asked if I have a part, if there is a part within me that wants to punish, that wants to actually punish. Because I was grown up in the Catholic, I was raised in the Catholic Church and in Catholic school, and punishment was a big thing. And you deserved punishment if you disobeyed, and you know, over a whole bunch of things, you deserved punishment. So I think that got buried in my unconscious as an exile. And I asked point blank, is there a punisher present? Because I'm 71 years old and, you know, I need you to back off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not the 15-year-old. I'm not the 17-year-old. I'm not the teenager, you know, that screwed everything up and failed to lounge. I know how to lounge. So yeah, you know, it's like, wait a minute, is there a punisher present? This is getting a little intense, this, you know, inner voice. And I think it acknowledged that, yeah, there's this inner punisher that says, you know, you need to pay for the hurt that you caused others.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I do
what
agree,
the fuck is
Marlene.
that?
I do agree, Marlene. You have to be able to look at these barriers, these burdens of self. You have to be able to look at them in a peaceful way to see How am I blocking myself? How am I hurting myself? How am I frustrating myself? And you have to ask it in that way. I'm doing it to myself. No longer is it my partner or the world or my boss or my siblings or my neighbors or whatever. Anything I'm suffering from, once I remove myself from those people, situations, and circumstances, and I'm contemplating it, it's now me. I'm the one that's causing myself to carry that pain and that burden as though it owns me, as though I need to be punished. And I don't know where the concept of punishing God came from, to tell you the truth, because I'm not into the Bible and that kind of Christianity and stuff like that. I just walked away from it years ago. But there's some fascination with being punished that religious people tend to hold on to, and it's like, it's destructive. We need to let go of this need to punish ourselves. We need to see the need to allow ourselves to be open in our hearts always. There's no reason to close our hearts to the world, except for the fact that we're so afraid of it, because we're so afraid of ourselves. We're not meeting our needs, is what fear is in ourselves. When we're not meeting our needs, it's because we're fearful of our own self. It's fearful of our own self, which is projected onto the world. It's caused, therefore, in our mind by somebody else. Some other situation or circumstance is causing us to suffer. Some disease, some person, some situation that occurs in the world has caused me to suffer, has caused me to be sick, has caused me to be, hurt. And if I'm not allowing myself to see, I'm the one that's carrying that burden, I'm the one that's creating that burden, I'm the one that's making that real to myself, then I don't realize I've transported myself into an alternate universe, a universe of pain and suffering, a universe where it seems like God is a wrathful God, and that's a universe which I walked away from. That universe exists for a lot of people, though, and when they make that universe, then it's made real for them. We each live in our own universe that way. We each live in our own universe of our own making that way. And I'm not going to go into the physics of that, because the physics of that is not really the solution to it. Really, the solution to it is going within and seeing that there's an opening within ourselves, a portal within ourselves, for finding the truth about ourselves, which to thine own self be true in service, recovery, and unity, is a really meaningful affirmation. And these other affirmations that Laura has presented here, in terms of connecting with our chakras, is a very powerful technique. And there are many others as well. Once you find that this one is useful to you, which I think you said it is, you can repeat it, and then you can begin to look for ways to attune yourself to actually see those parts peacefully, to see that anger, to see that sadness, to see that resentment, to see those punishments in peacefulness. Seeing them in peacefulness, then you can see what they're hiding from you. Because what they're hiding from you is the loveliness, the beauty, the wonders of it all. That's what's being hidden from you. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Danielle, you have your hand up.
Yep. Unfortunately, there's people that want the fear of God, and if you don't believe that, if you don't believe in their fear of God, they're going to show you their fear of God by scaring you. It's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately,
Nation is
I
full of
fell
them.
into that trap.
Yeah, the nation is full of them. Suddenly,
Yeah.
Christian nationalism is this whole prophecies of what people must do because of God's wrath. Yeah,
And
it's out there.
yeah, I feel like I'm a poster child for that one, because now I realize, wow, because I can look back and I'm unraveling, and I'm okay with the stuff that I did. But I was on the right track of healing 25, almost 26 years ago. I was on the right track, and because I didn't believe in certain people's their religion. They wanted to just trample on me. But anyway, but I love the chakra. I'm like right on top of it. Like I'm doing. I haven't even read this part yet until today with you guys, and it's just like okay, I'm in. It's synchronizing because
Yeah.
what we talked about today, I've been doing
Yeah.
today.
That's right. Yeah, you're right with it. That's true. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Mhm. And you see how it's just coming out there. You don't have to really work at it even.
No, it's
You have to do the exercises. You have to allow yourself to be open more and more all the time to see the increasing of joy, to see the increasing of love and peace. You have to see the increasing of it for it to continue. For you to sustain all of this progress, you have to see the increasing of it.
yeah. I'm starting to see my husband kind of. He's getting curious
Is he?
because yeah, he mirrors me. He's always mirrored me
Mhm.
in a way, but but I pretend that he's in charge of me.
This is the most powerful way to change another person is to be more open, more peaceful within ourselves.
Yeah, it's kind of
The only
neat.
way to change anybody, really.
But we
Yeah.
talk about how soft I am. He goes, I haven't raged. He goes, it's been over 10 years since I had a rage
Mm,
where just raging.
mm.
And he would let me rage. He would just let me just go off on a
Moving things
rant.
around and scream and all that. Well,
Yeah, I would, because I didn't know where it was coming from. It was
mm,
so intense.
mm,
And it wasn't at him. He would just go, let it out. Go do what you do. If you got to run away, run away.
mhm,
But
mhm,
because he was always there for me. And I told
mm,
him the other day, thank you for,
mhm.
not running away from me. He's like, no, because I
Yeah,
know what you've been through.
yeah.
I,
That's
I'm,
that's exactly the kind of thing that people need to be able to do when they're living with somebody that's mentally ill. You know,
yes, because I was
that's,
mentally ill.
that's
That's
exactly what
how,
somebody needs. It's mentally ill. It's somebody else that just let you let it out.
I'm not embarrassed to say that. I was really mentally
That's a
ill.
mental illness. That's for sure. Yeah, I've seen it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I could acknowledge that. And I could acknowledge, my addictions now. And instead of being ashamed and be like, no, that wasn't me,
Mhm.
I would just pretend, oh, no, that wasn't me. I don't know who you were talking to, or
Yeah.
now now I own it. And now the people that shame me for not owning it are like, oh, God, oh, shoot, she's coming back.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I'm not coming for vengeance. So I'm just gonna smile and just be nice
Uh-huh.
because that's who I always was, a nice person.
We have to be, if we can, we have to be courteous and peaceful and joyful, even with people that
Yeah,
are upsetting and confusing. We can do that.
yeah. I saw what my vengeance does, and it's not
Not the
pretty.
easiest thing to do sometimes.
Yeah.
It works though. It does work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Danielle. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we have just a few more minutes of to finish up here. Let's see. Wait. Okay, let's see what's next here. That's interesting. Doesn't look like this lines up on my audio book. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to press play on the audiobook. Doesn't look like. Oh, I see what happened. Somehow it got reset back to the beginning of chapter 9. Okay. Not sure how much was left, but I'll see. I'm just going to mute this for a moment while I work on finding the right place. Okay, I found close enough to where we're supposed to be at. Something happened when I was letting you guys speak or something, I guess. I must have been touching the screen. Went back to the beginning of chapter 9, but I fixed it. Here we go.
See if you can set an intention to carry this sense of inner harmony with you throughout your day. You may have found the chakra meditation straightforward and enjoyable, or perhaps it stirred up some discomfort, bringing to light parts of yourself you hadn't expected. Consider journaling about your experience, noting any insights or surprising revelations. You may wish to stretch, listen to music and dance, or talk to a trusted person about what came up. I encourage you to start a daily practice of consciously connecting the chakras to the seas of self and observe how they synchronize and integrate.
Observe how they synchronize and integrate. So this is another step. You know, she said here now that I want to connect in some way with the world outside myself. Listen to music and dance, talk to trusted people, journal, connect with the chakras and the seas of self, and then allow myself then over the course of time in practice of connecting with the seas of self, allow myself to see how this synchronization and this integration is occurring. And by the way, she didn't mention this, but there's a purification that also happens here. So this is a process that occurs over the course of time. Day after day after day, there's an increasing that must occur. For the progress to be made, there's an increasing that must occur. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be every single day. It just has to continue, and continuing from day to day to day over the course of many days, we're seeing the increasing this way. So it's important to keep track of and to be aware and to attune yourself to the fact that you're making progress in this process of integrating yourself with the 8 C's, with the 8 C's of self, with the trust of yourself, with the awareness of your 8 C's of progress.
Over time, you'll likely notice how the qualities reinforce one another, weaving together organically. As you recite the following daily mantra, you may discern where each of the C's is most needed in your body. Focusing on each chakra, I open to self. Attuning to these energies, I find inner peace. With each breath, I become whole. Feeling complete, I honor my true nature. Meditation. Without a meditation practice, our attention in adulthood likely remains fixated in the frontal lobe of the brain, consumed by unrestrained thoughts, emotions, and the endless tasks our ego tries to juggle, ultimately leading to suffering. However, in infants, attentional focus naturally resides in the heart chakra until around age 7. This allows children to think and feel from a place of innocence, resulting in the magic and beauty characteristic of childhood. Between ages 3 and 8, this heart-centered awareness gradually shifts to the frontal cortex to facilitate learning and experiences. While beneficial for practical skills, this transition diminishes our felt sense of qualities like love and compassion.
So this development has to happen gradually and gently. And if it didn't happen gradually and gently, then it didn't happen sort of properly, and we more or less have to go back, in a sense, to our early childhood to awaken the creativity and the compassion and the curiosity that's been lost. Because they will have been lost if, in fact, we're not allowing ourselves to see the openness of our heart. Experience it. See it, I say sometimes, and what I mean is experience it from the heart. Experience life from the heart.
Meditation allows us to redirect our attention inward, cultivating focus and awareness on the heart center and other chakras through visualization and positive affirmations. This is similar to the practice of sankalpa, or intention setting, described in Chapter 5. At first, maintaining concentrated attention on the heart area takes effort, as our habitual thought patterns pull us out of present experience. However, with regular and sustained practice, clarity, concentration, and energy levels will improve. To begin a meditation practice, consider the following suggestions. 1. Start by practicing single-pointed concentration for a brief period, such as 10 to 60 seconds. Entirely focus on one aspect of your experience without breaking concentration, like observing a candle flame, listening to the sounds around you, smelling a pleasant aroma, feeling the texture of fabric on your skin, or savoring a taste you enjoy. 2. Find a comfortable seated position and engage in a breathing meditation. Visualize inhaling pure light and love and exhaling any burdens or troubling thoughts. 3. Incorporate chakra focus, especially those where you notice blockages during previous chakra meditation. Visualize your attention gently shifting from your mind to each chakra, like a feather floating down. As you inhale, imagine energy from your limbs and torso gathering at the center of your chest, filling your heart chakra. On the exhale, expand the loving kindness within your anahata. You can also imagine cleansing each chakra with a soft, silky feather duster. 4. Cultivate a sincere intention to develop ethical qualities, such as compassion, patience, and inner peace, for the benefit of yourself and others. Maintain this intention throughout your practice. 5. Choose a positive mantra or affirmation that resonates with you, such as, I am unconditional love, or everything is made of Brahman. Focus solely on contemplating this mantra, its meaning, feelings, and beneficial effects. When distracted, gently return your focus to the mantra without judgment. Begin with 5 minutes of unbroken concentration and gradually build up to 60 minutes. 6. Beyond dedicated meditation periods, apply your mantra to daily life activities like brushing your teeth, showering, eating, or shopping. Especially when you become aware of judgmental thoughts towards yourself or others, repeat your mantra to remind yourself that everything and everyone is made of Brahman, including the person who has angered you.
And that's the end of our chapter, or our part 2 of chapter 9. And just show you here, because I'm sharing this chapter with you in the emails to follow up with this class today. There's a meditation which you also can focus on, which is also on YouTube. And in just a second, I'll show you that. This meditation is one of the ones I like to use from a source that's called the Great Meditations. It's a 15-minute meditation on chakra balancing, and it's a guided meditation that allows you to, for 15 minutes, become more aware of your true self. And I don't have time to play that for you today, but look for it in the email at the end of this chapter. You'll see it attached to the chapter with the hyperlink here in the chapter at the end of part 2, which you'll receive in an email in a day or two. And that ends our session for today. Thanks so much for being here with me, everybody. I appreciate your attendance and your comments and your help.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank
Yes,
you so
thank
much.
you. That was wonderful. It's a great book.
Thank you.
Good to be with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.